viewers, and welcome back to the Self-Made Auto Channel. We got this 2005 Ford Taurus. It's got the 3-liter pushrod engine in it. Customer complaint is the check engine light. He just wants it fixed and wants us to call him when it's done. So let's have a look and see what we've got. So we went ahead and ID'd our vehicle already. We're going to take and see what we got for codes. Got you guys a heck of a glare, don't we? I'll move you around. Alright, here we go. Can you guys see that? So we have a PO 171 for lean on bank 2. We've got a misfire that occurred on the first 1,000 engine revolutions. And lack of heated oxygen sensor bank 1 sensor 2. Switch indicates lean. So my first gut assessment on this, which I think is kind of peculiar here, is that we have a lean code for bank 2, but we don't have a PO 171. So a lean code and a misfire, yeah, they pretty much go hand in hand, particularly if it's a vacuum leak, which these engines are notorious for. I see we got this 2270 lack of switching, or basically that the rear O2 on bank 1 is indicating lean. I'm surprised, to be honest with you, we don't have a PO 171. And I don't know its code setting criteria. Perhaps, you know, if it gets this code first, it can't set a 171. I'm not sure. I'm just guessing there, but that is just kind of my first assessment looking at this. I suppose what we could do, while we're right here, we will pop into OBD2 mode and have a look at some freeze frame data, see when this occurs. I did not drive this vehicle. I just brought it in cold. So just in case, you know, a lot of times, unless a customer has a drivability complaint, I do not warm them up before, you know, I check codes, data, anything, simply because if we have a problem like this, you know, if we suspect a vacuum leak, let's see, make sure drive cycle's done. Drive cycle is done. We'll pop into mode 2. You know, often a vacuum leak is only evident when the engine is cold. You know, we've learned that in, you know, multiple other videos, and don't want to make that mistake. You know, hop in a car, take it for a drive first, bring it in, check it out, and, you know, find out we shouldn't have warmed it up. Alright, so we have one freeze frame stored for PO 174. So this is for our lean code. 176 degrees. Closed loop. Our fuel trim really isn't that bad. What do we got here? So that's for bank 2. So our total fuel trim is what, 6.3? Huh. I really expected that to be extremely elevated, you know, 25%, something like that. Now granted, this is just a very small snapshot of when the failure occurred. It was cold outside though. The engine was almost warmed up. Alright. Quarter throttle. Bank 1 sensor 2. So that's pretty interesting. Ambient temp was 10 degrees out, so it's a while ago. We haven't had 10 degree temperature in, oh, I don't know, probably 2 weeks anyways. So that's pretty interesting. Alright, well let's, we'll pop back in. I got an idea what we're going to be doing here. So as I mentioned, you know, the part about the vacuum leaks, the engine being cold, and being that we see it was 176 degrees, but the fuel trim didn't look that bad. My first step, because it's gravy to do on one of these, just first of all, just visual inspection. We'll give it a kind of a peek over, you know, don't touch anything, but have a look, see if anything looks out of place. And then what I would like to do prior to anything else is just do a smoke check on it before we, you know, start it and warm it up. I've had multiple times where you have, you know, either these 3 liters or GM, you know, they're 4.8, the 5.3, the 6.0, any of those, you know, they're, you know, have the notorious, you know, startup misfire. We've done lots of videos on them, the 5.7s, you know, basically anything with this, you know, plastic intake, you know, aluminum heads. The heads heat up, get a vacuum leak, seals it up. These have a big problem leaking on the intakes, vacuum hoses, the intake manifold runner valve, or the intake manifold tuning valve. They have a lot of issues everywhere. So for what it's worth, quick visual inspection, make sure nothing's just dangling off. Then we'll do a smoke check on it. If everything's cool, then we'll start it up and watch our data. I just don't want to get myself in a pickle where, you know, I want to have the car done today or tonight and, you know, not have, you know, the data we need. Cans. Brake fluid. Oh, holy smokes, where'd the heck to get this? Was like an antique. Belt dressing. This stuff's nasty. Never use this stuff. You have a problem with your belt? Buy your belt. Or fix the problem. Just like that. Oh boy. Holy smokes, fella. Alright, we'll put those back. That's awkward. Huh. Let's see, I don't, just giving our glance over, I don't see anything really abnormal. You know, don't see any, you know, hoses duct taped up where we could be getting some false air. Everything looks like it's been pretty well untouched. I do see it has, you know, aftermarket plugs and or aftermarket wires on it, which really doesn't concern us. So these are really notorious for leaking here where the plastic intake goes, or the plastic plenum goes on the lower aluminum intake. They have, you know, some other issues around some of the vacuum fittings. This one does have an intake manifold tuning valve. Those are notorious to leak. PCB is not cracked or anything. All right, well, I don't see anything too out of place. I think what we'll do, easiest way to smoke this little guy is I'll just take the tube off here, we'll block it off with a sandwich baggie, and then we'll just introduce smoke into, you know, into a vacuum line, you know, either a pressure regulator or something would be the easiest way to go. The old undies. Huh. I'll tell you what, I don't think we need the key on it anymore. I got us a baggie, a bag, big bag of thanks. Let's see if we can't do something like this. I do have the little plastic cups that plug the intake, but I find that this works just as well. So we're not looking for the right size cup. I think it's Redline that makes that expandable bladder that you can put in there that you pump up. That thing is the bee's knees. I need to get me one. They're about 200 bucks, but they can fill any type of orifice. We're gonna get to use our new smoke machine, or newer. A couple people commented they've been seeing it on my shelf. This is the new OTC leak tamer. I'll show you guys my other one, which was, it was a Mac one, but still the same thing, OTC leak tamer. I bought way back in 2005. It finally gave up the ghost. It just got to where it wasn't smoking really well, and then it developed a leak, so had to move on to bigger and better things. I still saved it because it could be just a hose inside of it. I imagine the hose started getting pretty dry rotted on it. But then again, it is 12 years old, so I got to check into that. So we're going to use this new little guy. Let me show you real quick. And I must say they have changed substantially in size. This one's got a little flow control valve on it. And of course, just the on-off. My other one had a remote, which was kind of nice. I did like that feature, but this one's small enough I can actually hang it up under the hood of a car. So that's, you know, kind of how big it is. So it's pretty tiny compared to my other one. Not a lot to it. Comes with a whole bag of goodies. A bunch of stuff in here. I'll show you another time. You know, UV light and all that. And this thing smokes huge plumes of smoke. I didn't realize how bad my other one was getting, but this thing's pretty cool. It's got a big diffuser head you can put on it, so when you're trying to find, you know, like windshield leaks and stuff, but this little guy works wonderful. It's like a big car hookah. Let's see, we will have to go in the lower hose. We'll turn her back on. We'll get us a flashlight. Oh, I hear ya. Oh, I see ya. We could have just taken a guess, folks. That intake tuning valve is leaking like a sieve. Oh yeah, that's a massive leak. That one will not get better with heat. It shouldn't, because the intake here does not get very hot. That's a big jumbo leak. Huh, I was expecting it to leak right on the bottom of the intake here. Which usually, it'll leak right up under there. All across the front, it doesn't matter at this point, because if we gotta fix that, we're gonna take the intake off anywho. We got some more smoke. What do we got back here? Oh, we got more. We got to walk around our cart. Just walls are crowding in on me here. Oh, look at that one. Oh, we got a 2-for-1 here. So let's see. Let me get you guys set up here so you can see this. So that is where the EGR valve goes into the intake. That's a pretty heavy duty leak there. Let me make sure it's, yes, that definitely is. Get you guys in here where you can see that. That definitely is leaking out of that EGR. And it's not leaking out of the diaphragm, which is not too uncommon. You can see how that's kind of blazing out of there. Wow. The car didn't even really misfire when I started it, so this was kind of a tad surprising. Yes, sir. It is blowing out. Where is that coming from? Yeah, it's around that bottom. This thing makes insane amounts of smoke. I just want to make sure it wasn't blowing from the EGR valve, to the intake. No, instead it's blowing right out of the intake. Yep, 100% confirmed. We'll go around here. Whoa. It's getting really smoky up in here. Yeah, wow, all right. Well, that's pretty insane. Those are two pretty heavy duty leaks. And that would affect the whole engine, both banks, so I'm still a little surprised to know why we don't have codes on both banks. Always take this out before you start the car up. Well, tip for you, free tip Friday on Wednesday. What I gotta do right now, I gotta get a hold of Mrs. O and see if she can run down to the Ford garage for me. I'm gonna call and check real quick before we even start it up and do anything. I wanna see if they have whatever we're gonna need for the EGR. We're gonna need the O-ring and the little donor and the gasket for that, and then we're gonna need the O-ring for the MRC or the tuning valve, whatever they wanna call it. And then we're gonna need the plenum gasket, obviously. But let me do that and we'll get back at it. All right, we're golden. Mrs. O is on the way to get the goodies. Grabbed us some PIDs here we can look at now that we know what's up. Let's see, I don't know what happens if we expand these. There we go, look at that. So we have our loop status, coolant temp. We can see the engine's stone cold, just pulled it in. And then we've got our fuel trim. So let's start it up and just kind of see if this is really only affecting one bank or what the story is. I can't imagine that it is. Let's see. Tried to let her run a little bit here, getting a closed loop. I'm sure if we give that a little toot of brake cleaner, it ain't gonna like it. As a matter of fact, you know what? Still just as dramatic. Let me, I'm gonna go give that tuning valve. There she goes. Well, I would have thought that would have been much, much more dramatic than it is. Huh, I'm gonna go give her a little sniff of the good stuff. Oh, baby, how'd you like that? Oh, I didn't like that at all, did it? That shot the old fuel trim numbers down. That was just the tuning valve. I'm gonna go give her a little toot on EGR valve now. Change anything? Slightly. Have a kind of hard time getting down in there with the good stuff. I'm gonna hit that tuning valve again. Well, that's definitely a big one there. No doubt about it. Makes the old motor chuckle a little. I'm gonna go try that EGR valve again. My can's just about empty here. Here, I just ran out. Now, one back by the EGR valve doesn't seem to be as dramatic. Tell you what, let's they got engine RPM on here by any chance? I'm gonna go bump the throttle up a little. Let's see what happens. Fuel trim numbers get better with it increase in RPM, do they? They should. You know, I'm gonna have to bring you guys over here with me so I can see what's going on. Let's see what happens with RPM. Yeah, they get a little bit better. I would definitely say total fuel trim gets better with higher RPM, which is, you know, usually coincides with a vacuum leak. It's definitely still within fuel control. Perhaps it only threw the bank too, because it's only hanging around 12%. You know, total fuel trim's what, about 17. Pretty interesting. Yeah, see, our total fuel trim's up there pretty good. I mean, it goes, I mean, it's getting high as, you know, 19 or 20. I don't know how long it takes for the long term to start to correct. All right. I see long term's not making hardly any changes. But I don't know, I don't think we really have to monkey here a whole lot more. We already know what's up. Well, we'll get ripping and tearing while we're waiting. One thing that I just looked up is I wanted to know the code setting criteria, and it says, what does it say? Typical. So I don't know if we can believe this. It says typical fuel monitoring malfunction thresholds for a lean malfunction, long-term has to be greater than 25, short-term greater than 5%. And we're not there yet. However, our freeze frame data revealed that it was 10 degrees outside when this happened. So perhaps the demand for extra fuel due to the temperature takes it over that threshold. I don't know. But what I do know is we got a pretty nasty leak. I have to move the old undies here for a minute. Oh, these are the socks. It's always good to carry spare clothes with you in case you get in an accident. Or so I'm told. And if you keep them under the hood, warm and dry. There's that. Not too bad, seen a lot worse. Oh, so we'll put her in a full-blown rip and tear mode. Just gotta get the plenum off here. So we're gonna expose, find a place to set stuff, junk. We're gonna expose our throttle cables there. Get these off and out of the way. I suppose we can just pull the throttle body and leave them hooked up, but it's that little guy. What do we got here? Cruise control or something? Maybe that one was cruise, this one was throttle. I don't know. This is throttle. This is cruise. That's off. Stick it down by the undies. We got idle air control valve. We got that up and right away. This is the vacuum hose. Brake booster. Get that off. PCV action. We'll gingerly just set that to the side. We just go willy-nilly. No rhyme or reason. Vacuum hose for our fuel pressure regulator. Oh, you big dummy. You know what? Look, we had our vacuum hose off when we were testing. We were getting some, I don't want to say false readings, but perhaps slightly skewed because of our little vacuum line leak we had. I wonder if we could hear the little guy hissing. But it doesn't change the matter of the fact that we've got a big honky-tonk leak back here. And a tuning valve, we'll get that unhooked. What else we got over here? Some kind of something, another vacuum hose. Probably comes from our vapor management valve, or commonly referred to as the purge solenoid. Get that unhooked. Hook our EGR. And that's this whole vacuum manifold here with the spaghetti lines. You gotta be careful with these. These things can be pretty brittle over time. Let's get throttle position. Let's get a bracket there. What else we got? We've got a bracket on the back of the intake. We've got to take off an actual metal bracket. Got a DPFE sensor, but that stays. That stays. I think that's everything there, folks. We'll take that bracket off. Whoa. Get over there. We ain't taking it off with that because it's 8 millimeters. 8. Where are you, little guy? There we go. So switch up the 8. Plug that. Now, I that's our purge solenoid. What the heck am I talking about? Where does this hose go then? Oh yeah. That goes down. That's a vapor management valve. What the heck am I looking at? That's not the purge solenoid, you fool. That's the EGR solenoid. Okay, never mind. Once it gets past 5, my brain shuts down. EGR solenoid. Vapor management valve hides back in the corner. If you're unsure, just look at your diagram. Don't take my word for it. We'll hit those couple bolts just because we are here with our 8mm. Stick that to the side. Take that little out. We'll leave those two in because the tricky part on these, if there is a tricky part, is the EGR valves. These things can be tighter than a banshee. Got two, looks like 10mm. We're going to spray them with a little Panther Pea first. The threads stick way through and are exposed. So we'll give her a little toot here. Let it soak for about 30 seconds and then we'll go at it. Toolbox tour break. I bought a new tool today. Well, we're letting our Panther Pea soak. Look at that. What? Brandy new. I did not have a flex head super jumbo. It's probably a little longer than I need. The only 1/2-inch ratchet I actually had, well, I've got two of them. I've got this one here. But yesterday I needed a flex head 1/2-inch for something I was reefing the crap out of, and I didn't have one. And Snap-on actually had these on sale. They're 50 bucks off. So I bought this. The only other 1/2-inch I have is this little guy, which is somewhat, I don't remember. This came in a 2-piece deal set. This came with like a 3/8 one too, that I've got somewhere, which is wicked handy. So I got these two together. These things are super handy. They don't make them anymore. So I try not to, I don't want to break it. I mean, they can rebuild it, but other than that, I think these are discontinued. Super fine tooth. They're really nice. And of course, I got the OG, the 1941 Snap-on. They still make a repair kit for these too, believe it or not. You break it, they can rebuild it. Boom. Got that from a viewer. But yeah, so there it is. This is all about destruction. She's 24 inches, I think, to the middle of the handle, to the end of the head. So I should get some crap broke in a hurry. It's as big as my breaker bar, actually. So actually, I think it's a little longer, to tell you the truth. Yeah, it is, slightly. From tip to tip, she's got about 1 inch on it. Story of my life. Anywho, I think our penetrating oil has penetrated. Let's see if we can't get back here and get these things crack-a-lacking. Oh, that was easy. Good thing we let it soak. That's what I always say. Oh, look at that. I made all this big fuss about nothing. That's enough of the hand tools. Where are you? Ooh, there she is. I felt you. There they are, them little guys. You know, we've got, oh, you know what? I didn't do the little bracket. Wow, man. Looks like that's an 8. There's a little bracket there on the back of the intake. One little 8mm nut, I think it is. There she is. And then it looks like a 13. It's a little metal bracket sticks up there. Piece of cake. Get a wrench. There it is. Reach down, crack that little guy loose. Bolts right to the back head. I don't believe we got to remove it. I think you just crack her loose and then slipper to the side. Got a wiring harness that attaches to it. I'll show you as soon as we get the intake off. That way we're not trying any weird camera tricks, angles. There we go. Now we're cooking. Oh crap, you guys did not see that. Did not see that. That is the wrong size completely. Yes, sir. There it is. I think we always forget one thing. What do we forget? Nothing. That's handy. So here we are. Those gaskets don't even look that old. I don't know if the factory ones are blue or not. Interesting. I'll do. Because these are coming. I ordered these. Sometimes you can reuse these. They weren't leaking, but you never know. You take them off. They're only a couple bucks. You know, they're pretty flat. You stick them on, then they leak, or they leak when they're cold. When it's really cold, then you're screwed. This is a little bracket I was telling you about right here. Bolts to the head, and then hooks somewhere here on the intake. Hooks to the EGR standoff little bolt right there, which we're going to be taking that off because we got to change this O-ring. All right, fantastic. Here's your DPFD sensor, differential pressure sensor for your EGR valve. I guess we're right here. I ordered this, oops, that gasket. Wherever she went. Must have hit the floor. There's our vacuum hose, the vapor management valve. I just burped a little bit. We're going to scrape this off while we're right here. We're still waiting for Mrs. O to show up. Our parts. So we'll do this very quickly. I smile every time I use this. I think I've showed this in multiple other videos. The super scraper, of course, the handle's pretty well getting beat up on it because it's been in the parts washer. This thing is the bomb. I've actually got all three of them. And it kind of is a really cool story because actually I've got this one here. Let me turn this into story time. It's going to be a long video. Nobody's here to talk to. The super scraper carbide tip is amazing. Viewer sent this to me. I showed it in one video. People went and bought like a bazillion of them, and apparently the guy who owns this company is a pretty small company, and I think he was on back order for like 3 months. So as a thank you, he sent me his little short one here, which is just, you know, the sawed-off version of the bigger one, which it is amazing. I absolutely, and the whole thing started because I actually have another carbide scraper, a Mac one, that I really, really love, and they discontinued it, and I'm afraid that the tip, once it breaks, you know, it's junk. And then so my viewer sent me these, and then the whole spiel started, and then the guy sent me one of these, which I didn't think I would use because it's so big, but for doing like aluminum surfaces, stuff like that, it is amazing. Look over here so we can see. I just looked. This isn't even really that dirty, so this is not a good example. I just looked on Amazon. They actually do have these on Amazon. I don't think they did last time I looked. I'll throw a couple links down in the box below if you guys want to check these out. I can 100% vouch for this tool. It is my absolute favoriteest scraper in the world. All three of these are. And I see they have all three of them listed on there, so that's kind of cool. They didn't have many in stock though, so probably first come, first serve. And the thing is, if you stand this little guy up on edge on a piece of aluminum, you're gonna make a nasty little gouge, so take that as a warning.